The entrance to the Persian Gulf, 4:17 p.m., January 26, the day Iran's worst nightmare became reality. The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group, that formidable armada Trump had warned about, composed of 5 warships, 90 aircraft, and 7,000 sailors and Marines, entered the Gulf, heading directly towards Iranian waters. Tehran had observed them for 3 days, tracking every kilometer, planning every detail, and making its decision to stop them, here and now, by force. At 4:17 p.m., Iran launched everything it had. 44 anti-ship missiles fired from 7 different positions, coastal batteries, islands, fast attack craft, hidden launchers, all converging on a single target. The USS Abraham Lincoln, the aircraft carrier, the symbol, the threat. Welcome to Border Watch Daily, your source for geopolitical and military analysis. Iran's plan was perfect. A saturation attack to overwhelm American defenses, sink the aircraft carrier, kill thousands, force Trump to negotiate, and show the world that the American armada could be stopped. From his headquarters in Bandar Abbas, the Revolutionary Guard commander ordered, "Fire all missiles. Sink that carrier. Today, we defend Iran. Allahu Akbar." 44 missiles screamed towards the 5 American ships. Flight time, 90 seconds. But what Iran didn't know, what they couldn't possibly conceive, would cost them far more than they ever imagined. A revelation of true American power was about to unfold. Firstly, these 5 ships had already detected the launches. The Aegis systems were tracking every missile. Countermeasures were ready. Secondly, 16 F, A, 18 Super Hornets were in the air, on combat air patrol, armed and waiting. Thirdly, 8 AH-1Z Viper helicopters from the USS Baton were 30 seconds from firing range. Fourthly, 2 Japanese destroyers were operating with a carrier strike group ready to defend. Fifthly, every Iranian position that fired, every base, every launcher, every command center, was already locked into American targeting computers, awaiting authorization. Sixthly, the very moment these missiles were launched, that authorization was granted. 33 minutes later, 44 missiles had been neutralized. Not a single ship was hit. 12 Iranian bases were annihilated. Tehran's entire coastal defense network was destroyed. The Armada continued its course. This is how the American Armada responded. 3 days earlier, on January 23rd, during a White House briefing, President Trump told the Pentagon, "Iran is threatening our allies, attacking shipping, supporting terrorism. I want our most powerful carrier strike group in the Persian Gulf. Show them what American power looks like. Send the Armada." The USS Abraham Lincoln carrier strike group, stationed in the Arabian Sea, received its orders. Set course for the Persian Gulf. Freedom of navigation operation. Demonstrate American presence. Iran will protest. Iran might threaten. Maintain course. Defend if attacked. The composition of the carrier strike group was as follows. The USS Abraham Lincoln, a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier with 90 aircraft. The USS Lake Champlain, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser equipped with the advanced Aegis system. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyers USS Sterett, USS Michael Murphy, and USS Ralph Johnson. The amphibious assault ship USS Baton, carrying 800 Marines and 8 AH-1Z Viper helicopters, as well as the Aegis destroyers JS Atago and JS Ashigara from the Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. 7 warships in total, the most powerful naval force in the region. The message to Iran was clear. We are coming. Try to stop us. On January 24th, the carrier strike group left the Arabian Sea, heading north towards the Strait of Hormuz, towards Iran. The Iranian military was placed on maximum alert. Supreme Leader Khamenei convened the Supreme National Security Council. The American Armada is approaching our waters. This is a provocation. This is a threat. We cannot allow it. Prepare a response. The Revolutionary Guard Naval Commander announced, "We have 44 anti-ship missiles ready, C-802S, as well as the latest Hal-Fars missiles positioned at 7 locations around the entrance to the Gulf. We can saturate their defenses, sink the carrier, force them to retreat." The decision was made. When the American ships enter the Gulf, attack with everything available. Maximum surprise, maximum violence. Stop the Armada. On January 25th, the carrier strike group approached the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian surveillance intensified. Radars constantly tracked. Aircraft monitored. Submarines attempted to follow. Admiral James Richardson, commander of the carrier strike group aboard the Lincoln, stated, "Iran is watching everything we do. They are planning something. All ships, heightened alert. Weapon systems ready." This could escalate quickly. On January 26th, at 2 p.m., the carrier strike group entered the Strait of Hormuz, 8 kilometers wide at its narrowest point. Iranian territory on one side, Omani territory on the other, the world's most dangerous choke point. Iranian coastal radars locked on, tracking and painting targets. SAM systems were activated, ready to engage. At 3:30 p.m., 7 Iranian anti-ship missile positions received the alert. The American carrier strike group is entering the Gulf. Await attack order within 30 minutes. Prepare all launchers. The positions were ready. The Bandar Abbas coastal battery with 8 C-802 missiles. The Qisham Island launchers with 6 Hal-Fars missiles. The Quiche Island position with 4 C-802 missiles. The Abu Musa Island battery with 6 C-802 missiles. The Larak Island launchers with 4 missiles. The Hormuz Island position with 6 missiles, and 10 fast attack craft with 1 missile each, totaling 10 missiles. 44 anti-ship missiles, all with a single target, the USS Abraham Lincoln. At 4 p.m., the carrier strike group passed through the strait, entering the Persian Gulf proper, heading north towards the Iranian coast. No deviation, no hesitation, displaying force. At the Revolutionary Guard headquarters in Bandar Abbas, the commander watched the radar. The American aircraft carrier is 40 kilometers from our coast. This is unacceptable. This is preparation for invasion. We must act now. A call was made to Tehran, to the Supreme National Security Council. A quick vote. The decision was unanimous. Engage the American ships. Launch all missiles. Defend Iranian territory. At 4:15 p.m., the launch authorization was transmitted. All units, fire on the American carrier strike group. Begin the attack. Allahu Akbar. At 4:17 p.m. and 4 seconds, just 4 seconds after the first launch, every American and Japanese vessel detected the attack. The Spy-6 radars, the most advanced in the world, tracked everything simultaneously. Aboard the USS Lake Champlain, an Aegis cruiser, the automated alert blared. Vampire, vampire, vampire. Multiple anti-ship missiles inbound. 44 missiles targeting the Lincoln. Admiral Richardson on the Lincoln ordered, "Battle stations. All hands to combat posts. This is not a drill. Engage all threats. Weapons free." The 7 ships simultaneously activated their combat systems. Aegis was operating at full capacity. It tracked the 44 missiles, calculated interception solutions, prioritized threats, and launched countermeasures. At 4:17 p.m. and 15 seconds, the USS Lake Champlain fired the first defensive salvo. 10 SM-6 interceptors, with the longest range, engaged the furthest threats. With a piercing shriek, the missiles soared. The USS Sterett, Michael Murphy, and Ralph Johnson all fired SM-2 missiles. 36 interceptors were launched in 20 seconds. The Japanese destroyers JS Atago and Ashigara fired SM-3 interceptors against ballistic missiles, as well as SM-2S against cruise missiles. 24 Japanese missiles were launched. A total of 70 interceptors against 44 Iranian missiles. That should be enough, but nothing was guaranteed. At 4:17 p.m. and 45 seconds, 30 seconds after the launch, the 16 F/A-18 Super Hornets on combat air patrol received the order: engage incoming anti-ship missiles with AMRAAMs. Protect the carrier. The Super Hornets dived, targeting the Iranian missiles, fighters tracking missiles. An unusual tactic, a desperate measure. 32 AIM-120 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles were launched, targeting the anti-ship missiles skimming the water's surface. Difficult shots, but the pilots were trained for this. At 4:18 p.m., 45 seconds after the Iranian launch, the first interceptions began. The SM-6 missiles struck 4 Iranian C-802 missiles at maximum range, 40 kilometers away. Perfect destructions, explosions, debris raining down into the Gulf. The SM-2 missiles engaged closer threats. 8 more Iranian missiles were destroyed 20 kilometers from the ships. The F/A-18 AMRAAMs hit 5 Iranian missiles. The innovative defense was working perfectly, but 17 Iranian missiles were still inbound, penetrating the outer defenses, closing in 15 kilometers, 10 kilometers. At 4:18 p.m. and 30 seconds, the Japanese destroyers SM-2S shot down 6 more missiles. 11 remained. At 4:18 p.m. and 45 seconds, the final salvo of SM-2S from the American destroyers destroyed 7 more missiles. 4 remained, 5 kilometers from the Lincoln, 30 seconds before impact. Rolling airframe missiles, RAM, point defense systems, were launched from all ships. 24 rams pursued the last 4 Iranian missiles. 3 Iranian missiles were destroyed. 1 remained, 2 kilometers from the Lincoln. 10 seconds. Every Phalanx CIWS system in the carrier strike group activated, 8 systems in total. Gatling guns with a combined rate of 60,000 rounds per minute. The deafening roar created a wall of metal. Ultimate defense, desperate measure. The last Iranian missile was shredded 1,000 meters from the Lincoln. It exploded in a spectacular fireball. At 4:18 p.m. and 50 seconds, the threat was eliminated. 44 Iranian missiles launched, 44 missiles destroyed. 0 impact, 0 damage, 0 casualties. A complete defensive success. But at 4:17 p.m. and 30 seconds, while the missiles were still in flight, Admiral Richardson had authorized something unprecedented: a full-scale retaliation. Every Iranian position that had fired, every base that had supported the attack, every command center that had ordered it, all were marked for destruction. Authorization was granted, the strikes launched. At 4:17 p.m. and 30 seconds, Iranian missiles were still flying towards the aircraft carrier, but the American response was already in the air. The USS Abraham Lincoln had launched everything. 24 F/A-18E F Super Hornets, each armed with 4 AGM-154 JSOL glide bombs and 2 AGM-88 HARM anti-radiation missiles, 12 F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, each carrying 8 GBU-53 Stormbreaker bombs. A total of 192 precision weapons from the aircraft alone. At 4:18 p.m., 8 AH-1Z Viper attack helicopters from the USS Baton reached the Iranian fast attack craft that had fired the missiles. The boats were attempting to escape, retreating at high speed. The Viper squadron received the order: engage surface targets, sink those boats. 64 AGM-114 Hellfire missiles were launched. The 10 Iranian fast attack craft were each hit by 6 to 7 Hellfires. Massive and total destruction. All 10 boats were destroyed in 90 seconds, sunk in flames. Numerous casualties among the crews. At 4:19 p.m., 4EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft activated maximum jamming. Iranian air defense radars were blinded. SAM systems were unable to lock onto targets. Electronic warfare dominance. Iranian air defenses were rendered useless even before the strikes arrived. At 4:20 p.m., the 24 Super Hornets fired 48 AGM-88 HARM missiles at Iranian radar installations. Every coastal radar station, every SAM fire control radar, every early warning system within a 150-kilometer radius. 48 radars destroyed within 2 minutes. The anti-radiation missiles guided themselves to the emissions. Precision destructions. Antennas shattered. Control buildings collapsed. Iran's eyes were blinded. At 4:22 p.m., the attack aircraft reached the Iranian coast. The 7 anti-ship missile positions that had fired on the carrier were all targeted simultaneously. The Bandar Abbas coastal battery was hit by 16 JSOW bombs. Launch vehicles were destroyed. The command trailer was annihilated. Ammunition bunkers suffered chain reactions. Numerous casualties among the crews. The battery was eliminated. The Qasem Island launchers, 14 JSOWs. The island missile site was destroyed. Launchers were annihilated. Support buildings were razed. Fuel storage exploded in a gigantic fireball. The Kish Island position, 8 JSOWs. The coastal battery was destroyed. The radar collapsed. Communications were cut. The Abu Musa Island garrison, 12 JSOWs. The entire facility was annihilated. The radar destroyed. Communications gone. Casualties within the garrison. At 4:27 p.m., 12 F-35C stealth fighters, invisible to Iranian radars, struck deeper targets. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy headquarters near Tehran, which had coordinated the carrier attack, was hit by 36 Stormbreaker bombs. The building was destroyed. Senior command personnel were killed. 3 Iranian missile production facilities, Isfahan, Semnan, and Parchin, were struck by 60 Stormbreaker bombs. Manufacturing halls collapsed. Assembly lines were destroyed. Production equipment annihilated. Iran could no longer build new anti-ship missiles. At 4:29 p.m., 2 Japanese destroyers joined the strikes. A historic moment. The first Japanese offensive naval action in 80 years. The JS Atago and Ashigara were authorized to engage Iranian military targets. Defend our American allies. The Japanese destroyers fired 32 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Targets: Iranian Coastal Defense Command Centers. 2 regional command bunkers were hit by 16 Tomahawks each. The bunkers were penetrated. Casualties among command personnel. Coordination capability was destroyed. Japanese participation sent a clear message: attack American ships, and you face an Allied response. Not just the United States, but Japan too will fight. At 4:32 p.m., 800 U.S. Marines aboard the USS Baton prepared for potential landing operations. Helicopters were ready, landing craft ready. If the order was given, the Marines would storm the Iranian coast, secure the destroyed missile sites, and ensure no reconstruction was possible. The order never came. The air and missile strikes had accomplished the mission. No ground assault was necessary. At 4:35 p.m., 24 Super Hornets conducted secondary strikes. 6 Iranian ammunition depots storing anti-ship missiles were hit by 72 JSO bombs. Chain explosions, mushroom clouds, seismic activity, thousands of missiles destroyed in storage. 4 fuel refineries supplying the Iranian military were hit by 48 JSOWs. Massive fireballs, black smoke visible from space. Military fuel supply was eliminated. 3 Iranian radar production facilities, 36 JSOWs. Manufacturing was destroyed. Iran could no longer replace destroyed radars. At 4:38 p.m., the USS Abraham Lincoln launched a final wave of strikes. 12 F/A, 18 S, 48 precision bombs. 2 Iranian Revolutionary Guard training centers, where anti-ship missile crews were trained, were destroyed by 48 bombs. Training facilities were razed, barracks collapsed. Iran could no longer train new crews. At 4:50 p.m., 33 minutes after Iran launched its first missile, the Allied strikes were complete. The total armament delivered was 96 Tomahawk cruise missiles by American destroyers, 32 Tomahawk cruise missiles by Japanese destroyers, 192 JSOW, Stormbreaker bombs by American aircraft, 64 Hellfire missiles by helicopters, and 48 HARM anti-radiation missiles. A total of 432 precision weapons delivered in 33 minutes. The targets destroyed. 7 anti-ship missile batteries, all those that had fired. 10 fast attack craft, all sunk. 5 major naval bases. 4 command centers, 6 ammunition depots, 4 fuel refineries, 3 production facilities, 48 radar installations, 2 training centers. 12 primary Iranian military sites were completely destroyed. 37 support facilities eliminated. Estimated Iranian Revolutionary Guard casualties totaled 4,296 personnel. A mix of naval forces, missile crews, command personnel, and support units. Allied casualties, 0. Not a single ship damaged, not a single aircraft hit, not a single sailor injured, not a single Marine endangered. A perfect defense, an overwhelming offense. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group continued its journey north, sailing deeper into the Persian Gulf, unstoppable, unharmed, victorious. The Armada had arrived, and nothing Iran possessed could stop it. January 26, 2025, the day Iran learned that American armadas are very real. At 4:17 p.m., Iran fires 44 anti-ship missiles, a perfect ambush, maximum firepower, attempting to sink the USS Abraham Lincoln, kill thousands, and halt the American presence in the Gulf. At 4:50 p.m., 33 minutes later, all missiles are neutralized, 0 ships hit, 12 Iranian bases destroyed, 37 facilities eliminated, 4,296 Iranian casualties. Allied forces, America and Japan, delivered 432 precision weapons, 7 missile batteries eliminated, 5 naval bases annihilated, 10 boats sunk. Iran's coastal defense network is destroyed. The Lincoln continues its mission, sails freely in the Gulf, and returns victorious. This is what happens when you attack American armadas. This is Operation Armada's Wrath. You can threaten, you can bluster, you can fire missiles, but you cannot stop American aircraft carriers. You cannot sink American ships. You cannot force an American withdrawal. You just lose everything you fire with, everything you attack from, everything you planned. 44 missiles fired, 432 weapons returned, 12 bases gone, 33 minutes. Total devastation. The Armada always passes. The Gulf remains open. Iran remains defeated. Never attack American aircraft carriers. Never fire on the Armada. Never test American resolve. Because 33 minutes later, your bases are history. Your missiles are destroyed. Your threat is eliminated. The Armada always passes.